Hello everyone. Today is the first class and I'm going to discuss about SLP module. So, what is SLP module? In organization, you have category managers. Category managers are nothing but uh, you know there is a certain set of a commodity like maybe books, maybe pens, maybe stationery, or maybe firecrackers, any sort. It depend on the organization that you work. They have different kinds of categories of products, and there is a category manager who will be handling those products. Now, these category managers are also responsible to improve the business. When these category managers get this task to do business or to improve the business, they try to interact with different suppliers. Okay, for example, you want to, or maybe the manager wants to procure more nuts, maybe bolts. He just want to find out a supplier out there who will give him the best price and good quality. So he have to go into the market and he has to know more about the supplier. And then if he feel the supplier is good at what he does, then he starts doing business with the supplier, right? In this case, how do I know, you know, who is the supplier or where is he? How should I contact? How should I start interacting with him? Maybe I can just call him, or maybe I can just mail him and just say, hey, I want this product, can you deliver? Then the supplier will say, yes, I can deliver. No, maybe I cannot deliver. But this is a very time-taking process. So, what to do in this case? In this case, organization get back to Ariba, explain their situation, maybe the category managers, what happens with the category managers, and then they buy a module called Supplier Life Cycle and Performance. So, in this SLP module, what happens is first step. Okay, I want to do business with the supplier. I got to know, maybe for now, let's think that I just got to know that the supplier, XYZ supplier, okay, maybe XYZ Supplier Private Limited, it's very good at supplying nuts and bolts. Then what happens? This category manager, so let's say the category manager came to know, but category manager cannot take a decision just like that. Let me explain you better with the diagram. So this is a basic SLP process. Okay. So in this SLP process, you have different steps. First step is the request process. So like I said, in the request process, what happens? Category manager has a requirement. He came to know that this supplier does well, and he has to request his boss through the application. He needs to create a request, a supplier request saying, hey, I feel the supplier is really good in doing business. Why don't we, procure nuts or bolts from this supplier? This is supplier request process. So, what is it? This is supplier request process. So what happens? Then category manager got this idea, then he logs into Ariba and he go to create button, and here you see something called supplier request. Okay, let me click on this supplier request, and here you see a form, and the form looks like this, the system. Yeah. So here you see there is a form. What is the purpose of supplier onboarding, and what is the supplier name, first name, last name, email. So like that you have lot of fields. Okay, who constructed this form? It's the Ariba administrator who constructed this form. So when this form is being constructed, Ariba administrator or the consultants, you might say, they sit with the procurement team, okay, and they get to know how the form should look. So the category managers will sit with the Ariba administrator and they ask, okay, how the form should look. Do you want the form should have first name, last name, full name, email, what and all you want the form should have? So Ariba administrator will get all the details and he will construct this form. Okay, coming back to the step one, what is it? Supplier request. And the category manager believe that the supplier is best and he comes here, he fills this form. Okay, what is the purpose? To, okay, let me write it. I believe this supplier is best in delivering nuts and bolts. Let us procure from him. All right. Okay. So this is like a message I'm typing. What is the name of the supplier? XYZ Private Limited. Okay. What is the first name? Maybe XYZ. Maybe XYZ Nuts. Last name, maybe Bolts. I'm just writing it for, for just for an example. But you need to write what are the fields which are which are again needed. Okay, so here if you see there is a asterisk mark, it means it is mandatory. So to test it, I will take off bolts. Maybe I would just say XYZ at the rate, okay, XYZ, um, enter a valid email ID. Okay, let me type XYZ at the rate, maybe gmail.com. This is something for a sample. Let me write it. Okay. So here if you see, I gave a space and it has identified that please enter a valid email ID. So how the system is throwing this error? System is throwing this error by sort of a validations which Ariba consultant has constructed. Okay. Now I will take it back and what is the supplier contact full name? Maybe XYZ Nuts and Bolts Limited. And I would fill the form. The category manager is filling the form, and here you see something called potential duplicate was found. Okay, what is this potential duplicate? The thing is, when you prepare this form and with the supplier, with the details, when you're about to submit it, when you click on the submit, in fact, if there is a duplicate, system will throw this message for you. There is a duplicate, I just found it for this is the vendor ID and it is 100% match, and this is the name of the supplier. Here the match can happen on the email, the match can happen on the name, etc. So but here I just want to ignore it because this is only for example purpose, and let me click on submit. Ignore and submit the request. Yes, ignore and submit. So you see the form has been constructed. So let me click on done. So to know the status of our form, let me click on supplier management. Okay, here I see something called submitted. Okay, this is our form. Click on done. So it's getting, so the problem with Ariba, especially with SLP, is when you construct the form, it's when you submit the form, sorry, it takes some time to reflect. So here I see XYZ Private Limited, it's in approval status. So in Ariba, always remember that we have approvals, and we can, depends on the business need, Ariba administrator can construct this form with and without approvals. So let me click on the supplier. Okay, here you see there is a finance approval. Let me go down. I just say mark as complete. Okay, I just say okay, mark as complete. So here, let me log in into the supplier. Here you see in approval status has been changed to approved, and I try, and before, if you see in the approval flow, there is a finance approval is in blue, but now is in green, and I have approved it. But in reality, whatever the approvers who are there in this group can approve. That's how it works. So let me go and click on view supplier profile. System. So here you can see supplier profile, but remember here still the supplier XYZ nut supplier is not even contacted. Just remember that. So here the supplier is not even contacted, and if the supplier has to be contacted, there is a step called registration, and here the supplier has to be invited. How the supplier invite will be done and etc. we will take up in the next class.